All right, so are you ready to dive deep into the world of Yayoi Kusama? You actually sent over a whole bunch of articles about her, and to be honest, I was kind of surprised by how much there is to unpack behind those iconic polka dots. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, Kusama's art is like a fascinating example of how an artist can turn their own personal struggles into something that's universally powerful, you know?
Mm,
She's a top-selling contemporary artist.
yeah,
But what really intrigues me is how she took those polka dots, stemming from her childhood hallucinations,
yeah.
and made them like her signature.
That's what really grabbed my attention too, you know? Just reading about how those dots started as something that was terrifying for her, it makes you wonder how that shift happened, from fear to something she celebrates.
It's almost like she wrestled control back from those hallucinations by incorporating them into her art.
Mm.
There's this quote where Kusama refers to her art as a life-saving operation. And I think understanding that quote is like key to unlocking a lot of her work.
A life-saving operation, huh? That's
Mhm.
pretty heavy. What do you think she means by that?
Well, imagine being a child,
Right.
right? And you're seeing the world constantly overtaken by these dots. That kind of experience could be incredibly disorienting, even traumatic. But by transforming those dots into art, she's taking something that caused her fear and pain and turning it into something beautiful, something she has control over.
So it's not just about aesthetics, it's about reclaiming power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that power like shines through in the way she elevates those simple dots into a complex visual language.
Yeah.
She uses them to explore these profound themes like infinity, self-obliteration, and our place within the universe.
No, that's what I call depth. It's way more than just a quirky stylistic choice, right?
Right, think about it. The universe is full of dots. Whether it's stars in the night sky or like particles under a microscope, each dot in Kusama's work becomes a microcosm of this larger idea of infinity.
And how does that tie into the concept of self-obliteration that I kept seeing in the articles? It sounds kind of intense.
It is, in a way, self-obliteration for Kusama is about dissolving the boundaries of the individual self and becoming one with something larger. She sees herself as just another dot within the vastness of the universe, dispersing her identity into something infinite.
Wow, that's a whole other way of looking at the world. You know, it's interesting how she pulls from Japanese culture and traditional patterns in her work, too.
Absolutely. Traditional Japanese art often uses repeating patterns,
Yeah.
and Kusama takes those ideas and kind of explodes them with her dots. You
Yeah.
see echoes of the Kiko pattern, which symbolizes longevity, or even the Sakura pattern with its cherry blossoms representing renewal.
It's like she's taking those traditional concepts and giving them a modern, almost psychedelic twist. And it's not just dots, is it? She also uses pumpkins and these net-like structures, right?
You're right, those are crucial elements too. The pumpkin for Kusama acts as a kind of self-portrait. And the nets, they create this fascinating tension between order and chaos, containment and expansion.
It's incredible how even those seemingly disparate elements connect back to those central themes of repetition and infinity. But to really get the full impact, you've got to experience her infinity rooms, right? Those just blew my mind when I saw pictures of them.
There's truly nothing quite like stepping into one of Kusama's infinity rooms. Imagine being surrounded by mirrors on all sides with lights and objects, often those signature polka dots strategically placed to create this illusion of endless space.
Whoa, so you're basically immersed in the sea of repeating patterns and reflections.
Exactly. And what's really fascinating is that her first infinity room, back in the 1960s, was filled with soft phallic forms all covered in red polka dots.
Wait, really? That's not what I was picturing at all.
It goes to show how Kusama's work can be playful and even subversive, pushing boundaries and defying expectations.
Hmm.
But at their core, these infinity rooms, like Infinity Mirrored Room, The Souls of Millions of Light Years Away, and Infinity Mirrored Room Aftermath of Obliteration of Eternity, invite you to contemplate the vastness of the universe and your place within it.
I think that's what's so captivating about them. They go beyond just visual spectacle and tap into something deeper, something almost spiritual. I'd love to stand in one of those rooms and just feel that sense of infinity wash over me.
It's a truly unique and unforgettable experience,
Hmm.
and it really encapsulates Kusama's artistic vision to obliterate the boundaries between the self and the universe, to become one with the infinite.
Last time we were talking about how Kusama's art career kind of took off in New York and how she was a real trailblazer. But I'm curious, what was the art scene like back then? Was her work well received right away?
Not exactly. The 1950s and 60s were like dominated by abstract expressionism, you know, which was all about these bold gestures and emotional intensity. Kusama's work with its like obsessive repetition and almost hypnotic patterns was a pretty radical departure from that style.
So she was kind of swimming against the tide.
Totally. Imagine being a young Japanese woman arriving in New York with a completely different artistic vocabulary.
Yeah.
It took a ton of courage and conviction to stick to her vision, especially in a scene that was still very much a boys' club, you know?
She must have faced some resistance.
Oh, definitely. Some critics dismissed her work as mere decoration or novelty, but others recognized her unique talent and her fearless exploration of themes like infinity and self-obliteration.
Those themes seem to be at the heart of everything she does. It's like she's trying to break free from the limitations of the physical world and dissolve into something much larger.
And her infinity rooms are perhaps the most powerful expression of that desire. Think about Infinity Mirrored Room Falley's Field from 1965, the one we discussed earlier with those soft phallic forms covered in polka dots. It was like sensory overload, challenging conventions, and provoking strong reactions.
It's amazing how she uses simple materials like mirrors and lights to create these immersive, almost psychedelic experiences. You step into one of those rooms and it's like the boundaries between you and the artwork dissolve.
Exactly. The viewer becomes part of the installation, enveloped in this infinite expanse of repeating patterns and reflections. It's a disorienting but exhilarating experience, a visual representation of Kusama's quest to obliterate the self and merge with the cosmos.
And it's not just the infinity rooms. Her paintings, sculptures, even her fashion collaborations, they all carry that same energy, that same desire to transcend the limitations of form and space.
It's a testament to her, like, singular vision and her unwavering commitment to exploring those profound themes. And what's remarkable is how her work has resonated with audiences across generations and cultures.
Yeah, she's gone from being an outsider artist to a global phenomenon. What do you think it is about her work that connects with people so deeply?
I think it's that sense of awe and wonder she evokes. In a world that often feels chaotic and overwhelming, her art offers a space for contemplation, a reminder of our connection to something larger than ourselves.
It's like she's inviting us to step outside of our everyday worries and anxieties and lose ourselves in the beauty of infinity.
Exactly. And in doing so, we might just discover something profound about ourselves and our place in the universe.
It's funny, we often think of art as something separate from ourselves, something we observe from a distance. But Kusama's work really breaks down those barriers, pulling you in and making you a part of the experience.
I think that's why her work has been so influential, especially for artists working with immersive installations and experiential art. She showed that art can be more than just a visual object. It can be a transformative experience, a portal to another dimension.
And she achieved that with something as simple as a polka dot. It's incredible how she took this basic element and turned it into a language of infinity, a symbol of self-obliteration, a tool for exploring the deepest mysteries of the universe.
Her legacy is truly remarkable. She's not only expanded the possibilities of art, but she's also shown us the power of art to heal, to connect, and to inspire.
I'm really struck by how Kusama's personal struggles fueled her artistic vision. It makes you wonder, if she hadn't had those experiences, would she have created the same kind of art?
That's a question we can't answer definitively, but it's certainly worth pondering. Would she have found other ways to express her fascination with infinity and self-obliteration? Or was it the intensity of her personal struggles that gave her art its unique power and resonance?
It's almost like her art was a way for her to confront her demons and transform them into something beautiful and profound.
Exactly. And by sharing her vision with the world, she's given us all a glimpse into the depths of her psyche, inviting us to confront our own fears and anxieties and find beauty in the unexpected.
Speaking of unexpected, I was reading about how Kusama actually staged these happenings in New York back in the 60s. They were these performance art pieces that challenged social norms and explored themes of sexuality and identity.
Oh, yeah. Those happenings were quite controversial at the time. Imagine a group of people naked, covered in polka dots, performing in public spaces. It was a bold statement against the conservative values of the era.
It sounds like she was really pushing the boundaries of what art could be.
Absolutely. And doing so, she was challenging societal norms and paving the way for future generations of artists to explore themes of sexuality, body image, and personal liberation through their work.
It seems like she's always been ahead of her time.
Definitely. Whether it was her early exploration of immersive installations, her embrace of performance art, or her use of repeating patterns to explore themes of infinity and self-obliteration, Kusama has consistently challenged conventions and pushed the boundaries of artistic expression.
And her influence continues to ripple through the art world today.
Absolutely. From contemporary artists creating large-scale installations that envelop the viewer to fashion designers incorporating her signature polka dots into their collections, Kusama's legacy is undeniable.
It's amazing to think how her journey, which began with those terrifying hallucinations, has led to such a profound impact on the art world and on our understanding of the human experience.
It's a powerful reminder that even in the face of adversity, creativity can be a force for healing, transformation, and connection.
And that sometimes the most profound beauty can be found in the most unexpected places, like amidst a sea of polka dots.
Well said. And on that note, it's time to move on to the final part of our deep dive.
We've talked a lot about those infinity rooms, but I gotta say, I'm still kind of curious about like what it actually feels like to be inside one.
It's truly an experience unlike any other. I mean, imagine yourself surrounded by mirrors, right? And these lights and those signature polka dots all carefully arranged to
Mm.
create this illusion of just endless space.
I mean, I've seen the pictures and it looks pretty wild, but is it like overwhelming, peaceful? Kind of both.
I think it's a bit of both.
Mm.
Honestly, I'd say first feeling is probably disorientation,
Yeah.
because your senses are kind of flooded with all those repeating patterns and reflections. But then as you spend more time in the room, you start to feel this sense of calm, kind of like meditative stillness.
So it's like a sensory overload that leads to this peaceful state.
Exactly. And that's what makes Kusama's work so fascinating. It plays with your perceptions, it challenges you, but it also kind of invites you to surrender to the experience, to lose yourself in the moment.
I can see how that would be really appealing in today's world where everything's so fast-paced and overwhelming.
Right. I mean, Kusama's art offers this kind of like refuge from the chaos.
Yeah.
It's a place where you can disconnect from the outside world and just be present, you know? And I think that's something that people are really craving these days.
It's funny, we often think of art as this like passive thing, something we look at and appreciate from a distance. But Kusama's work really pulls you in, right? It makes you part of the experience.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the reasons why her work has been so influential, especially for contemporary artists who are creating these large-scale immersive installations. Like she paved the way for a whole new way of experiencing art.
And she did it all with something as simple as a polka dot. It's incredible how she took this basic element and turned it into this like language of infinity, a symbol of self-obliteration, and a way to explore like the deepest mysteries of the universe.
Her legacy is definitely profound.
Yeah.
I mean, she's not just an artist, she's a visionary, someone who challenged conventions and redefined what art could be.
And she did it all while battling her own personal demons, using art as a way to heal and to find meaning.
That's what makes her story so inspiring, right? She turned her struggles into art, and in doing so, she created something that resonates with people all over the world.
It's like she's saying, even in the darkest of times, there's beauty to be found, even in the most unexpected places.
And that's a message that we could all probably use a little bit of,
Yeah.
especially today.
We started this deep dive wondering about the meaning behind those polka dots, and I think we've discovered that they're so much more than just a visual motif.
They're a symbol of Kusama's journey, of her struggles and her triumphs. They represent her unique vision and her unwavering spirit.
And they're a reminder that art can be a powerful force for healing, for connection, and for self-discovery.
Absolutely. It's been amazing exploring the world of Yayoi Kusama with you.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. It's been a real eye-opener. And to our listeners out there, I hope this has inspired you to see the world a little differently, to find the beauty in the unexpected, and to remember that even a simple polka dot can hold a universe of meaning.
Thanks for listening.